Welcome to the Woofy Show, everyone. On today's show, we have a special guest called Avery. She's up and coming, new dog trainer here in Calgary, and she's here to talk to us about the essential do's and don'ts of puppy dog training. So let's welcome to the show, Avery.
Welcome to the Woofy Show, the ultimate dog lovers digest. Meet your hosts, Brian and Magda, two dog lovers ready to help you be the best dog parent, unravel the mysteries of canine behavior, and keep you updated on the latest trends in the dog world. This podcast has something for everyone. Get ready for heartwarming stories, expert advice, and a lot of laughs.
Yay! It's so good to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So just to quickly introduce yourself, kind of talk about what you're up to nowadays and why you're here and all of that. How many dogs do you have?
Oh my goodness. Okay,
we want to know everything.
I love it. So I've been working, like dogs have been my whole life. I know everyone says it, but it's literally like a personality trait.
It is.
I have been working with shelters and stuff since I was younger with my mom. And then I worked in a doggy daycare and boarding facility, and that was pretty fun. But I've always been interested in like the behavior side of it. Like, why do dogs do what they do? Right. And being a vet, I was like, it's fun and everything. And when you're younger, that's the only like dog job, right? Like dog trainers weren't a thing like 10 years ago. So, which is super cool. So it's kind of fun that
it kind of just exploded suddenly. And I think it might be because of the social media as well.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like there's still no regulations, like there's certifications and stuff, but you can just call yourself a dog trainer and be a dog trainer, which is scary. But I think that having a dog trainer is just as important as going to the vet and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's like going to school. I think your dogs should learn, right?
Yeah.
And then you should learn from your dogs. But I just thought kind of being in that industry is so cool. And that's kind of where I wanted to be. So I started in Dogma. So I'm registered to be I'm doing both. I'm doing the behavior and then the dog trainer. So I have 2 certifications. And then from there, I'm not 100% sure, probably just start building my brand a little bit. Yeah. Reach out.
Do you have like kind of the name of your business that you're planning
on? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think because I'm like, my name isn't super catchy. Like I probably put something in there. It's hard because it's like how many canine like things can you do, right?
Especially here in Calgary, like there's so many dog trainers and so many businesses with like the canine name in it.
I know, and it's super good and catchy, but I'm like, I need something different. So I've been workshopping it. It's a work in progress, but
you're gonna let us know in like 100%. A year time.
Yeah, totally, 100%. So it'll be awesome. I'm super excited.
So how many dogs do you have personally?
So I just have one. She's 14. I've had her since I was little.
Wow.
Her name's Sadie. I love her dearly. She's super food motivated, so I can still train with her sometimes. Yeah. Like no dogs are too old to be trained. I think that you never stop training dogs, right?
Yeah.
But
especially when they learn from a young age, they learn how to learn, and it's just so much fun to kind of continue it, right?
Yeah. And there's always like, even us, we're always learning, we're always growing. So are dogs, right?
Yeah. And it keeps them young. It keeps them healthy, right?
100%. Yeah. And we're learning new stuff every day about how dogs work, right? Like again, 5-10 years ago, like Caesar Milan was the big dog person, and that was the way, and you're the boss of the dogs. And now it's, we're equals and we're going to learn from them. Right. So like it's constantly evolving. So it's really cool. And I think I kind of came in at a really good time because there's so much. Yeah. And I think that the positive, like I'm working towards like fear-free, reward-based training. So
I was going to ask you actually, like, what's your kind of philosophy on dog training? Where do you stand? Because I do know that dog trainers divide themselves into 2 kind of camps, and it's kind of just weird and
it's hard,
and toxic between the 2 camps. It's like, why can't we not just meet somewhere in the middle kind of vibe?
Right. Well, and I just think I say like, don't humanize your dogs too, because they are different and they have like, in certain terms, but you can be like, we're learning from them. They have a completely different language, right? So it's about learning from them. And I just think the biggest thing is like, you wouldn't want to learn when someone's punishing you or using negative. Like if someone's talking down to you, you're not going to learn, right? So, and psychology and people, it's been, we learn from positive, like reinforcement, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for dogs.
But there's the argument as well, like on an opposite end, that sometimes people are just being a little too soft.
Well, and that's
on
it
their
too.
dogs, on the kids, and things like that. So it's just like I feel like there needs to be like some type of balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Between the two of being like, okay, we can do things in a positive way.
Yep.
But also boundaries.
And discipline too, right?
Yeah.
Dogs are very black and white. You can't, it's like one of the big things, and we'll talk about it, is when you're saying a command, don't say it 5 times, because then they learn, and it's just going to make it harder, because then they learn they can get away with it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so you do have to be, dogs are very black and white, so you do have to be 100% thorough, and if they're not getting it, usually it's on you to be more clear with them, right? So most of the time, it's just... it's having a positive environment just makes them feel safe. And I think that it's easier to build a relationship out of trust than out of fear.
That's true.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. So I don't ever want, especially I worked with rescues and stuff too. And it's so sad. And they've got the big puppy eyes, and it's like, we could talk about how sad it makes me all day, all like the time. I'm like, I don't understand how people can feel any sort of emotions except for positive towards these like soft animals who are just looking for love, right? So
I think it's because people, as you said before, try to humanize the dogs a little bit.
Totally.
And they don't understand that dogs don't do anything out of spite. They don't have that spiteful bone that humans do. And sometimes maybe that's what gets into our heads. Like,
That's
this
so
dog's
true.
doing this on purpose. They're being nasty or whatever, without actually understanding where is that behavior actually coming from.
Well, exactly.
Right? Like, where's the core
Well,
of that?
exactly. Right.
But we are getting a little bit too deep here.
I could talk about it for hours for sure, but that's not why we're here.
So we are here to talk about the do's and don'ts of puppy dog training.
We'll get back to it. Yeah.
So how about we just start with your first, let's do the do's first,
Okay,
right?
great.
Let's start with the positive dog training.
Totally.
Let's do that. So according to you, what would be like the first do? Like, you have to do this with your puppy when you're first starting your puppy training journey.
My biggest one would be handling. I think that it's not, people don't realize how important it is. So handling can be...
Yeah, a lot of people won't understand what you mean by handling, right?
Yeah. So handling is, there's a bunch of different kinds. So it could be just hanging out with your dog, and while you're petting them, you're treating them. So making them understand that it's a positive experience for you to pet them. And like, groomers will thank you, vets will thank you. If there's an emergency and your dog's safety, if they're desensitized to you touching them, it will help out, right? And then as you start as a puppy, it like, obviously it's easier to train dogs as puppies because that's like the peak learning. But handling is, so first I usually just start with my hands. So I'll just treat them, and I just start petting their body, obviously kind of start in a neutral spot. So I usually do like their side or their chest. I don't like reach over. That's not normal for them, right? We 100% don't want to hover over the dogs, because it's rude. It's rude for them. They're like, why are you all over my business?
A lot of people don't know that though, right? That like, hello, don't put your hand over the dog, because they're just going to get scared.
Yeah, I always, whenever I'm going near dogs, I always kind of go to the side a little bit. It's just polite, because if you're coming in this big, they're like half your size, right? And you're coming in, it's a lot. Even if someone taller than you comes in, it's like, oh my goodness. Especially little dogs too. I think that they get a bad rep because they're so little in this giant world. And so I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want like a yappy small dog and stuff. And it's like, I just think that they weren't properly shown that the world isn't as scary, right? So, but the handling, I usually start on the side, so I'll do the flank, and then once they're used to the petting, and puppies are pretty easy. They're like, oh my gosh, you're petting me, this is great. So all around, it's going to be a fun experience. So you're petting them, and then you kind of start going on the more sensitive areas. So that would be the tail and like the ears, and you can put more pressure as you go, and do the paws in between the paws. And so once they realize that, like everywhere that you're touching and they're getting treats, they're like, this is great. You can touch my paws all day, every day. So when you're doing nail trims, if they need to go to the vet and they need to get checked out, they're like, oh, you're going to touch my paw? That's fine. Right.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of dogs I find are so uncomfortable with human touch.
Right?
It's actually quite sad.
I know.
It's like, no one actually got you used to the fact that, it's okay to touch your paws.
Yep,
it's okay
100%.
to touch your butt,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, right. And you don't think about it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are like, when they hear training, they're like, okay, sit. It's the obedience part that people think about. But training is building the relationship. So,
And that relationship starts with the touch.
exactly, right? Exactly. And you can make it a fun time for them and you, because that means that when you pet them, they're going to understand it's a positive experience because they're getting rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So super fun. And then you can move on and you can do objects. So that's when you can kind of get the nail clippers. It's super funny. I'll take like a toilet paper roll and I'll just like pet my dog with the toilet paper roll. And it seems weird. Any object, I've done remotes, just anything, because they'll get used to the hand. So then when you touch them with a different object, because then that helps out with like harnesses and collars.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put like costumes on your dog or bandanas, super cute. That's not normal for a dog.
I know.
So
a lot of people just jump the gun and like put this costume on a dog, and the dog's like clearly uncomfortable.
100%.
It's like, come on, you have not actually done anything with this dog to desensitize them to this. And people don't think, because they would just put an outfit on a toddler, on a kid.
Yep.
The kid's like,
like, what the
not
heck?
gonna do anything.
Well,
so they think they're gonna do the same to a dog, and it's completely fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
and it's not.
No. You see all the videos of like the dogs with the booties and they're just standing and they're frozen because they don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. I used to put Build-A-Bear clothes on my dog when I was little. She had little tutus on. She
cute.
got used to it, obviously. But if I had known what I know now, I definitely would have approached it differently.
Yeah.
So some dogs are more tolerant, but you can make it a more negative experience if you're rushing your dog into it. So, and that's another thing with the handling too is, okay, I'm going to touch this dog's paw. This is maybe for some older dogs too. Cause you can train dogs at any age, but if you're going to train older dogs, usually you kind of have to work backwards a little bit before you work forward. Cause
it takes longer, right?
There's no fresh mind to work with. Right. So, sometimes, okay, say you're handling your dog's paws and they're pulling away. Don't keep reaching for the paw. Right. Cause then like, you're going to work backwards. So just maybe start at the elbow until they're used to that. Work slow, right? And then you can slowly work to the paw, right?
Yeah.
Like my dog's still iffy about, she goes to the groomer and she's fine, but she's not really good with touching paws and stuff too, so we just do the elbow.
Yeah.
But she's super food motivated, so it's pretty easy to kind of get her on my side, which is nice.
That's fun. Well, the thing is, like with Maple, for instance, with our older dog, like she's still not a fan of having her nails clipped. She tolerates it. If there's treats involved, she's like, okay, I'll do it. So she's not as if like uncomfortable. However, our puppy, and obviously she has not had the time. She's like, okay, touch me everywhere. Like she's fine,
100%.
right?
Yep.
And it's just like, it's crazy the difference in the contrast between the dogs.
Totally. And some skills are easier to learn for some dogs than other dogs. It's so funny. Every dog's different, just like people, but it's fun to learn, especially when you get another dog and you're like, wow, okay, training sit's going to be so easy because it was so easy for my first dog. And then you get your puppy and you're like, why is this the worst time in the whole entire world? Literally. It's so funny. So you kind of just have to be ready for everything.
Yeah. We were so confident. We're like, we did it with first dog. We're going to have a, swimming time with the second dog. It's just like, no. And it's like starting all over again. And it's even harder because you have your second dog in the background, really jealous.
Oh my gosh. It's like, please, me. I know. Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to learn in a new way, right? So, and it is rewarding. It's obviously having a puppy. There's a lot of patience.
I feel like we are all learning right now. Like our dog's learning, the other dog's learning, we are learning. Like it's a whole thing.
Well, yeah. And then that's like another one of my do's is just make it fun.
Yeah.
Make it fun because it's not going to be, you're building a relationship, you're building the trust, like I said. And so it's supposed to be a fun time and you're learning all your dog's quirks and all the fun little things that your dog does. And it's bonding. You're becoming best friends with them. Right. So it shouldn't be frustrating or stressful. And if it is, just keep it short, just get up and training sessions don't need to be an hour. Cause again, everyone's going to get tired and frustrated. Right. So
that's a good way to migrate to the second point.
Yeah, literally.
I guess keeping things fun. So one of the ways to keep things fun, as you mentioned, would be to keep it short.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Is there any other kind of tips that you would have of how we can make it fun for everyone?
Honestly, sometimes it's like, okay, only work on a few skills. like for a little bit, right? Like if you realize, okay, you're teaching your dog sit and it's taking a little bit and you can feel that the dog is not getting it as fast, move on to a different skill, right? You still made progress. Just because you're not only focusing on sit doesn't mean you're going to get it in one day, right? So no matter whatever you're doing, they're learning. Even if it seems like your dog is not learning, they are, right? So again, keep it very black and white, but your dog is 100%.
Would you say that finishing on like a positive note is like a thing to do?
No, that's 100%. Yeah.
Like if some people, like, they can see that the puppy is like, not really into it. They're getting distracted. They're like going for this toy or whatever. And then they like stop. And it's like, okay, you are now teaching your dog that it's okay to do that.
100%.
Right. So,
and then like if you're up and you leave when you're frustrated too, that's also a negative association, right? It's like, okay, we're both feeling these feelings and then you get up and leave. I'm just going to associate whenever I feel negative, like the dog, whenever I feel negative, you're going to up and leave. And that could lead to some like fear and some like confidence issues or whatever. Yeah. Because if they're frustrated and stuff, you're sensitive even as a person too, right? Yeah. So ended on a good note, treat them a bunch, give them some love. Especially if it's been tough and you're like, oh my gosh, she's not getting it, or my dog's not getting it. That's okay. That's so fine. Yeah. We'll get up and we're going to try it again tomorrow. Yeah. I think having a very optimistic mindset when you're training is super important.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So moving on to, I guess, the third do. Oh, we're going to do 5, by the way. We didn't mention that at the start, but we're going to do 5 do's and 5 don'ts. Because otherwise we're going to talk our heads off.
Yeah, so. No, totally. I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but it was the keep it short and sweet. That's another thing. So that keeps it positive too. So then neither of you are tired or stressed out. But any progress is good progress, right? Yeah. So even if your dog just barely touched their butt on the ground, perfect. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Make it a party. Because this is when their mind is developing and stuff. And so even in short times, they will take whatever behavior that's how they're learning to like live in the real world. So every little thing that they do or don't do, you're the one kind of managing what behaviors you want to see and what you don't. Yeah. So if you're keeping it short and stuff, that doesn't mean it's any less effective than like a trainer coming over for 45 minutes, So you can do training wherever, whenever. Like lots of people will do their meals as training time, right? And then use the kibble, which is a great idea, by the way, too, because then you're not doing kibble and then treats. And then that keeps the yummy treats for more like maybe higher reward, harder skills, right? So if your dog likes their kibble, 100% use that as training. Yeah. Sometimes a
lot of people do say that they don't have time for dog training, right? And it's like, well, you do have that 3 minutes here, 4 minutes there. Like there is time. We just don't 100%. See it as humans. Like even the meal time, you're right. Yep. Like there's so many times, like 3 times a day, I can do training with my puppy right now.
And that's just it too, right?
And then she's tired, right?
Oh, exactly, right? And then it's enrichment. So I think it's really funny because it's any sort of hobby, right? If it's important to you, you'll make time for it. Yeah. So if you want your puppy to have good manners or whatever goals you're looking for when you're training your dog, you can make time for it 100%. Yeah. Training doesn't need to be, I know that obviously when people go and look for trainers, just out of convenience, usually it's like 30 to 60 minute session, right? Yeah. Just because it's a person coming over or whatever, which seems like a lot. And you're like, oh my gosh. So once they're done, does that mean that I need to do an hour? Right. So that's not true. No. 100% you can do, not like 10, 15 minutes, even less, like 5 minutes. Any time that you have, you can make it training time. Yeah. So
do you find that people that you've worked with, that they kind of expect the results in that one training session?
Sometimes, I think that a lot of people know, I think some people are afraid to start because they know it's a lot of work, especially sometimes, if their dog is older and they're like, we did train and then we fell off and now it's like, it's like starting any hobby, right? Or like habit, right? Like, okay, I said I'm going to go to
It's going to suck at first.
Yeah.
Like it is. You're not going to be an expert at something
and
right
something
away.
new. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like going to the gym. It's like, oh man, I don't want to do this or whatever, or it's good. Yeah. It's going to suck before you get into the routine of it. And then it's going to be like second nature. Okay. Meal times. Great. We're going to train.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going for a walk. Okay. We're going to train too. Right. You just have to, I think probably the easiest way of making training not seeming like it's a whole different world is just, I think it's called like habit stacking. So, doing it while you're doing something else. So again, meal times or walks or, I don't even know what another example would be. Maybe even just like, well,
like just being consistent, right? 100%. Like just a little bit every day can, like it builds up. Yeah, exactly. And like a compound effect.
Yeah. Like small steps every single day makes a huge effect because then you look back. It doesn't need to be an hour every single day. I think that can definitely intimidate some people because it seems like it's going to be a lot and it's like, okay, I don't have this much time. And maybe that's why some people reach out for trainers. And, but I think that we're here to educate you. And then obviously we can't stick around forever. We're going to show you the ropes and we're going to teach you how, your dog speaks basically. And then, it's up to you.
Understanding your dog a little bit better, right? Like that's what a lot of people don't realize, that actually dog training's about you as a human more than actually the dog itself. Like you there to teach them what to do rather than.
We're learning their language, right? We know how to say stuff, but that's the huge thing, right? Is I think a lot of people humanize their dogs and that's fine. But I think it's more about, like, we are speaking different languages, so we can't expect them to understand what we're saying if they're completely different. Yeah. Their minds work differently. Yeah. Right.
People like say something to their dog, be quiet. They just like expect them to be quiet.
I know. And we've all done it. Like I've done it too.
Saying.
I know. Right. And you're like, oh yeah, my dog knows. And your dog's just kind of like it looks like your dog's like staring at you and it definitely seems like they do. Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, she's listening. It's like, no, she's not. She's just being quiet because she chose to. Yeah. And she's waiting for a word. And totally dogs will understand words after a bit, but they have to associate a word with something. I can't give my dog a speech and then expect them to go do whatever. Yeah, right?
Exactly. So. Okay. Another the fourth one, I think we are at.
Yeah, I think we're at the fourth one. Yeah, I know. I'm going to lose. It's good we're only doing 5 because I definitely would lose track.
I'm like, do you need the list or something? You're like, nah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fifth one.
Fourth, I think.
Fourth. You're right. See, I already forgot. Look at me go. Fourth one would be, I would say socialization. So I think that when people think of socialization, they think other dogs, and that's totally part of it. But I think there's a whole other, it's a confidence builder. So taking your dog as soon as you can, obviously I know that they need to be vaccinated and whatever. I know, I think that even you did it too. You brought your dog to like Home Depot or something too, right? It's so cute. That's socialization. So just introducing them to new environments. So it could be puppy classes. It could be taking them out for walks. Like exploring a new area, right? So most people kind of have a route they go for their walks usually, but trying a different way or whatever, just kind of letting them explore all sorts of things and making it a positive experience. So it can even be the car. It can even be, so we have like our puppy classes, when I go to observe them, they bring a bunch of like baby toys in. Yes. And so then we just get the puppies to just walk all over them and it's weird little sounds and stuff, but it's about confidence and then making it a good experience. Okay, I'm going to walk on this. It's going to make a weird noise. Or like it's a new texture, but realizing that it's totally okay. I think also you did something about like Halloween decorations too. Yes. That's another socialization thing, right? Showing them that the world isn't scary, but making sure that they kind of experience as much as they can and at a young age too. Cause then when they're older and they see it, it's not as frightening. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's actually crazy. So a lot of people also, especially new puppy parents, like, oh, I don't know. I just got this puppy and I'm panicking. I don't know what to do with it. And it's like, okay, deep breath.
Totally. And I totally get it. It's
First
a lot.
Of all, And then just do little things because people don't realize that even like, this can scare a puppy.
100%.
Like it's something moving.
Great example. Yeah, literally anything. Handling is kind of socialization in a sense too, right? So, but 100%. I totally agree. I think it's super important. It's super important because then you can show your dog it's not a scary world out there. And then they're confident and then they want to learn and they're not afraid to try new things.
Yeah.
And then it's easier for them to adapt, especially if in the future you're going to move houses or another dog comes in or something too, right? So socialization with other dogs is great too. Puppy classes are amazing. Dog parks are tough, but puppy classes are awesome, especially because there are trainers and they'll tell you, they'll be like, oh my gosh, your puppy's doing great right now. Okay, your puppy is nervous, is shy. That's totally fine. We'll let them do it at their own pace, whatever. So I think puppy classes are really good because all the dogs are kind of in the same like mindset. This is all new for them, but the trainers can kind of lead you through and be like, okay, your puppy does look a little nervous right now. That's totally fine. But this is still socialization. And the more they come, the more the confidence will be built. And dogs are different too. Some dogs go to that puppy class and they're bouncing around, tumbling around, and some will just sit and watch. And that's
it's just different temperaments, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
would you say lack of socializing your dog at very young age, like puppy time, is kind of leading to potential reactivity issues in the future?
It definitely can. I think a lot of behaviors come out of fear, right? But I think there's a bunch of different factors, but I definitely think that's totally one of them. I think that when they don't understand things, dogs first instinct is to run away, but sometimes they don't have that option too. So that's kind of where the reactivity can come in.
Especially when they're on leash, right?
Well,
it's
exactly.
like, okay, I can't escape. I'm leashed. And then there's this massive truck driving right next to me and I'm going to become reactive.
Out.
Yeah. It's like, I have nowhere to go. Right.
100%. I think that's a huge thing. And it's not, there's so many other parts to help against that. But I think a huge thing is having a confident dog usually, and them understanding and trusting you too. Socialization will build that too, and that trust, and be like, okay, I'm scared, but you're not going to put me in a situation that I'm going to be afraid. And so that can also be another part of reactivity too. If you're not listening to your dog, they're going to be put in situations they don't want to be in. And then that can lead to some fear-based behaviors for sure. Yeah. So I totally think that that's a huge part of it. And so I think that's why it's so important. And again, puppy brain is the best time to do training. Yeah. It's never too late. It's never too late to do training.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you, like, what is the period? Like the peak period where you should socialize your puppy? Oh
man. I'm not 100% sure.
That's okay.
Yeah,
you don't need to answer.
It's in my notes somewhere. Maybe I'll have to.
Because I know that puppies go through like these fear stages, right?
Totally. And then there's like the teenager phase too, right?
So a lot of people, I guess, worry sometimes that if they do introduce new things when they're going through this fear stage, they might actually like mess up their dog.
Totally.
Because they're freaking them out even more and they're in this fear stage and it's just like, how do I handle it now?
100%. And I think it's also listening to your dog. If the dog is not having it, okay, we definitely need to roll back and try something. Like socialization doesn't mean outside of the house too. Again, like you said with the leaves, that can be socialization. Yeah. You can literally play car noises in the house.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Breakfast 100%. Time, we literally have YouTube running of like so noises.
so smart. That's so genius, especially with food. Genius. I think usually, because I know some people, it's like, okay, get your dog fully vaccinated before you do socialization. I think after the first shots and stuff, that's a pretty good time. Yeah. As soon as you can, obviously, be aware for the risks and stuff. Don't put your dog in a bunch of
like don't go to a dog park, right, with your puppy that you just had one vaccine with, 100%. Like one set of vaccines.
I would say like there is 100% an age somewhere in my notes, but I would 100% say the moment you get the puppy, start socialization, and it can just be in the house until your dog knows the ins and outs of you and the house. And then you can kind of start exploring outside. And even if it's just down the road, anything, even crunchy leaves too, you have to do socialization every single season. Yeah. Crunchy leaves,
even snow
is a huge one.
When Aspen saw snow for the first time, she like freaked out. She froze. Right. And then now she loves it. She like eats snow. She jumps through it and it's like, you know.
It's the cutest thing ever.
It is.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then the mud too, right? They're like, and all these smells that come with the season. So that's also part of it. So I think as soon as you get your puppy, start it, but just make sure that you're not putting them in a situation they don't want. So just make sure you listen too, right? If they are stressed out, don't like, you can draw back and be like, okay, that's too much. Let's start slower. We'll do something slower. That doesn't mean that you won't ever get there. You just can't leap. You can't run before you walk.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to have to go backwards if you're putting your dogs in a situation where they're scared and then having to relearn that it's okay. So it's better to work with them and see where they're comfortable. Okay, they are confident. They're stomping all over these leaves. Cool. We can move on to maybe like watching other dogs like pass by or something, or going in stores, whatever. But just work at your dog's pace, and every dog is going to be different. So
I know this might be a little bit of a stupid question, but a lot of people don't actually recognize how to tell that the dog is a little stressed out.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Right. So like they're going out, let's say they're going to go to Michael's or whatever, carrying the puppy, and there's a lot going on, a lot of people, everyone wants to touch the puppy, obviously.
Oh, obviously.
And you have to well, you have to stand your ground and be like, no, don't touch them. Obviously, people don't ever let other people touch your puppy when you're trying to socialize, because that can just freak them out even more.
Totally.
But at one point, something can happen, right? Something unexpected, something that's out of your control, and your dog's freaking out.
Totally.
And so how can you tell as a new puppy parent, I guess, that your dog is just not comfortable with this situation and you should probably retract?
Yeah. So we use like a red light, green light kind of method. So it's body language. Now, obviously, it's harder to notice than others, but there are like 3 stages. So green light, they're super relaxed. They're confident. And then we call them, the yellow light we call them calming signals or displacement behavior. So obviously you don't need to memorize that. I'm not telling everyone to study up.
Yeah.
But
that's really interesting.
So dogs, again, their first instinct is to walk away. So my biggest thing, if you're going to introduce something that could be stressful, is give them an out. Because the first thing, if you don't want your dog to freak out, the number one reason they usually do is because they don't have an out. And then that's how they're going to get to that level. But 100% of the time, whenever there's an incident of some sort, they have shown signals beforehand, before they've reacted in however way that they did. So calming signals they can be really small. They can be really big. A big one that's super common is a shake off. So you see it all the time. Your dog goes and like plays with the puppy, and they're like, okay, we're done. And they leave and they shake it all off. So, and they're like,
it's like shaking the stress
away.
away.
That's exactly it. So that's a huge one. And then there's also like lip licking is a big one. They'll turn their heads away. They'll like turn their whole body away. So that's another big one, is if you don't give your dog that opportunity to leave, and turn away or whatever, because they're avoidant. Dogs as a whole are super avoidant. So if you don't give them the space to get out of the situation, that's when they're going to be like, I have no out. I have to go into more of like a red light zone or whatever. And that can be all sorts of things too. Every dog reacts differently, but 100% of the time, dogs will show signals before, but it's just listening to your dog. So if they are kind of, I guess like puppies are floppier, so it's kind of harder to notice when they're tense or whatnot. But usually puppies, if they aren't like in a situation, they'll back off. You can kind of see that. So so that you don't have to read and be like to memorize them all. I would just say, in any situation, give your dog the space to do it at their own pace and everything. And you can sprinkle treats all over whatever you're getting them to learn and explore. And then at their own time, they can go and explore that.
Yeah. So would you say like just giving them their own time kind of?
And space. Give them the space. Don't plop your dog don't on force it. Whatever it is. Exactly. That's 100% it, because they'll let you know. They'll be like, absolutely not. Let them come up to it. Let them make the choices.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes time, right? A lot of time sometimes.
Well, and it's patience. It's so hard. I'm very impatient. When I see a dog, all I want to do is squish it. I get it. Yeah. I have had to unlearn it. It is probably the hardest part of like pursuing this career, is I just want to come up and snuggle your dog. Probably not what they want half the time. And the dog's going to love you even more when you listen to them. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing.
I actually love when dog trainers come to our house, and you can actually tell when someone's educated by the way they enter, because they usually just ignore my dog. Yep. And I love that. Yep. And like, just ignore her. Yep. Just let her come to you. Like 100%. She likes things on her own terms. She's going to love you more if you don't come after her.
Oh, 100%.
I'm like, you came through the door and you just like standing there. I'm like, love it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's hard too. Cause
Yeah.
like, again, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the cutest thing in the whole entire world. But from afar, we'll be best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's hard to unlearn, especially puppies. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They're all squishy and they're floppy and you just want to hold them.
Yeah.
But you have to learn that. Unfortunately, that's probably not what they want.
That's not what
they're not used to that. So, yeah.
It's not going to benefit them in the long run.
100%. Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on to our last do. What to do when you have a new puppy.
Okay, last one. I would say, and this one kind of ties into everything a little bit, just reward anything. Because we were talking about making training sessions short and just whenever you can.
Yeah.
Reward every behavior that you want to see. Your dog is lying down in the corner, go and toss him a couple treats.
Yeah.
Your dog has stopped jumping and is just like sitting. Like whenever your dog's settled, reward that.
Yeah.
So just reward for every teeny tiny thing. Again, this is like a super crucial time for their development. So any sort of black and white they see, oh my gosh, I just sat down and I got a treat for it. I'm going to remember that and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So just always have treats on you.
Yeah.
I know trainers even, and they've been training for a long time and they still bring treats on a walk, right? Training never stops. But just bring, whatever your dog is doing that you like, reward. And then whatever they're not doing, don't reward.
Yeah.
Dogs are very black and white. You cannot do gray areas with them. It makes my job easier for sure because I
love
also
black and white answers. I love it.
I love it. I can't, gray areas don't exist in my brain. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do step by step here. And so it's very easy. So anything that they're just, it can be, oh my gosh, she's in the corner. That's so funny.
Yeah, just sleeping.
She's on her back. Oh. So like, that's a great news. I'd reward that. She's super relaxed. Any teeny tiny little behavior when they're doing it on their own too, right? It doesn't need to be in a training session. That's obviously different, but you're cooking dinner and your dog is sitting, like playing with a toy or something and not bugging you. And that's like, oh my gosh, I love that. Go reward.
Yeah.
'Cause usually as like people will be like, oh my gosh, good job. And you can do that to your dog too, for sure. But we understand what good job means, but good job for dogs, puppy brain is treats.
Yeah. So, especially puppies, right?
Exactly. So I think that's huge too. Just whatever you like that they're doing, reward that and it'll reinforce it.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people forget that, especially when you have an older dog as well. Like even I'm guilty of it. I forget to reward just calmness.
Oh, I know. I never tell my dog to settle.
Not to like when she doesn't do anything, when she's just like there being a good girl. I'm like, yeah, this is just normal. Like this is how she behaves. But I forget, hey, like this is nice to reward sometimes too, right?
Yep. I get it. And it doesn't seem normal. Again, everyone thinks training is in sessions and it's you got to block it off in your schedule. But training is building that relationship and like learning to live with your dog.
Yeah.
So you're learning, they're learning. So whatever you want to do, like whatever you want them to do, that's what you reward. So it's awesome.
It's funny how you said that because like all of my jeans have treats in it. Like all of my hoodies.
I know, like, smell like beef liver. I'm like,
I'm like a walking treat right now.
Oh yeah, I know. It's brutal. But I love it. Like it's funny, the little things that you can do, people don't realize it all adds up. I love looking at the big picture and I'm like, okay, if I could do like an hour a day and block it off in my head, it seems easier because it's more structured. Yeah. But it doesn't need to be that. It can be super easy and it is easier when you don't structure and you kind of just do it when it's convenient for you, right? Because that's going to make your life easier and make training fun.
Yeah. I guess you don't need to really like fit it into your routine as such. You can just kind of fit around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I think we are done with our do's. Let's go to the don'ts. Like, what would you say is like, don't do that with your puppy when you first start training them?
This is a big one and we all do it. I do it. Don't say the command more than once.
Oh yeah.
That's like a classic. Oh, guilty. Yeah. Guilty always. Still to this day.
We literally just gone to puppy classes and the trainer, this was the first thing she said to us. And I'm like, oh my God, like I know this is the right thing to do, but I still don't do it.
It's second nature,
Yeah.
right? Like as people, okay, someone doesn't hear you, you repeat it. Your dog heard you the first time. They're just being sassy.
Yeah.
They're learning. They're not being sassy. Sometimes if they're in their teenager phase, they're probably being a little sassy, but they heard you the first time.
Sometimes they don't know their name. As a puppy, right?
Yep.
Especially like you got to train that.
Yep.
Too.
Oh, yeah,
People don't realize that. They just start calling their puppy a name and they think, oh yeah, they should react straight away. And
It's
like,
so funny.
It's not going to happen.
Yep.
They don't know that.
They're just going to learn that they can be lenient with it. And they're going to be like, okay, well, I'll do it on the 4th time because the last time I got rewarded on the 4th time, right?
Yeah.
You have to reward them on the first time. And just wait them out a little bit. It's a lot of patience. But you call their name and then you just wait. And eventually, even if they looked at you for not that reason, eventually they'll look at you and they'll put 2 and 2 together, right?
Yeah.
So, like a big thing we teach is offered attention, and that's literally just whenever they make eye contact, you reward. It's the same thing. So they're just making eye contact just because you're probably doing something.
Yeah.
Reward, and then they learn. Okay, check-ins. If I check in with you, that's a good thing. So it's the same thing, but just make sure only one time too, and then after a bit, you can kind of. I mean, this is not really like with puppies, but after you can do a couple commands and then reward, right? So, but that's different, right? Once you're going to start weaning them off and they know the cue and you can start making like you doing the duration longer, right?
Yeah.
But right away when they're a puppy, you want to the moment that they do whatever you want, yes, and then reward.
Yeah.
But just do it once. Do it once.
So if your puppy doesn't react to the name, and then you wait them out, and they still don't care about you, what would you say is the correct action there?
So usually what we'll do is you can do kissy noises or whatever, like whatever you need to do to get their attention, you can. But usually it literally just starts, we do like a treat in our face. And then we start out here and then you do their name. And then once they look at you, okay, great. And then you can slowly like lure it back or whatever.
Yeah.
I can show that. But just wait them out a bit. But if they seem like they're not into it, kind of get their attention, get them a little hyped up again, and then try. Because maybe they're like, I'm bored. So you might have to just bring their attention back, or something else is more
Rewarding, right?
Exactly. So sometimes, or maybe you're not there yet, right? It is hard to teach a dog a name, especially if you get like a rescue too and their name changed or whatever. They've never had a name and they're a little bit of an older puppy too, right? They've never been called anything before.
They're just a feral dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Like.
So it's like they have to learn. It's just like learning a command, right? Or like a cue. It's a new word for them, but they'll kind of learn it for sure.
Like the name is not really like for humans. It's a personal thing, right? Dogs, they don't care. It's just another word that comes out of your mouth.
Exactly. And that's kind of the same thing with the like humanizing. It's like it's different to them than to us. Yeah. But 100% just do it once. And then if it's not working, maybe back up a little bit. Maybe you're going too fast or whatever. Yeah. But kind of doing the training whenever and whatever, it will actually like, it'll add up more. Right. Yeah. So, and then you'll probably be able to get it quicker. But that's a tough one. And again, I still do it to this day. But wait them out. You don't have to wait them out for like that long, just a few seconds. And then we do a couple kissy noises. I usually try and avoid any like name calling or whatever. Like I wouldn't use the name again. I just do kissy noises or whatever noise they're going to
like tap on you. Yeah.
Whatever noise they're going to, react to, until they look at you. And then that is a reward because then they heard the sound that you made, they heard their name but they're like, I don't care. And then you bring their attention to like a kissy noise or something. They're like, what is that? And so then they make the connection. Yeah. It seems like it's super far apart, but they have a crazy way of putting 2 and 2 together, which is super cool.
Yeah. Puppies, right? Puppy brain is just so moldable. Like, I think that's what I love about it. Like getting a puppy, although it is a nightmare and you have to deal with like so many things, like, potty training and just them not having any attention span at all. Still, it's so rewarding and you're just working off like a blank canvas basically, right?
Well, exactly, right? And then again, dogs, you can train a dog at any age. Training never stops, but it is super crucial when you get a puppy to take advantage of that if you can, for sure.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, let's move on to the second don't for the puppy parents.
Perfect. So I literally just mentioned it, but just don't stop training.
Yes.
I mean, again, we're talking about the puppy stage, but when your dog's 2, 3, keep treats on you while you're taking them for a walk. The dogs are always learning, right?
Yeah.
And you can always teach them something new. Even if training is teaching them a trick, that's fun for them too. That's mental enrichment. It's good for their brain. It honestly is probably just as, like, training is almost just as enriching as a walk sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously smells is like a huge thing. But I think it's interesting, the different kinds of ways that you can work your dog's brain. It doesn't just mean exercise. Yeah. So I think
a lot of people do ask us, like, especially in our Facebook group, what are some of the enrichment exercises you can do?
Yep.
And a lot of people, recommending this puzzle, that puzzle, whatever you can buy on Amazon, right? Like this is what you can do. And it's like, hold on a minute. Like, you can actually step back and build a relationship with your dog and teach them tricks. Yep. Put some treats around the house.
Oh, yeah.
Get the brain working. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it's like, people don't realize that there are so many simpler ways, or like,
inexpensive ways.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
do
don't
it
have
yourself
to spend.
kind of way. Mm-hmm. And you don't need a puzzle.
No. And those are great. Don't get me wrong, but you don't have to spend that money. For my dog, I literally wrap treats in a towel and then I tie it.
Yeah.
And is just as effective as, like, she's panting by the end of it. Right. There are some you don't need to spend, they're great. And some dogs also, you'll buy them and then they'll figure it out in 10 minutes. And you're like, cool, there goes $20. So lots of good ones. There's like the Find It games and stuff. Like snuffle mats are great too. You can make those, like an old towel. Just obviously watch for like strings and stuff too, because the dogs, like puppies are teething and everything. So I understand why people sometimes want to do the puzzles, because they are a little bit stronger. But there are ways for sure. I like Pinterest. Any like dog blogs, lots of them. I don't have any off the top of my head, but there's lots of fun games. Like even I know it's like a little magic trick, and they have to pick a hand, and one is a treat. That is enriching for them too. Just make sure, obviously, it's positive and they don't get frustrated. But there are so many tricks you can do. Plates, just hiding it.
Or like even putting a treat in a cardboard box.
Oh yeah.
Like getting 100%. Them to like get it out.
Yep.
And they will literally bounce like around us. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's exactly it. And I see people doing like dogs will shred like lettuce and stuff too. Oh, yes. That's always fun. I think it'd be a little messy for sure. And some dogs, like my dog doesn't like lettuce. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she won't. But she's never been like she's never had like she doesn't want to shred or chew. She likes like
our dogs are shredders. They shred anything.
Yeah. But those are great too, right?
Yeah.
As long as your dog doesn't eat it, but those are awesome. That's another really good one. And it's just as tiring as a walk. So especially chilly days, you're like, oh my gosh, it's -40 out. I really don't want to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Just as important for sure. But that's training. That is training. Yeah. Anything that works their brain. Even if you're doing the same tricks, okay, let's do 5 minutes. Let's just go over everything. It's like riding a bike too. You don't ride your bike for a season. You got to learn it all again. It's you're working a muscle.
Yeah.
So it never stops.
I also find it surprising that a lot of people don't understand what trick training is either. Yep. And it's like, it's not really getting your dog to jump through hoops and like being in a circus, right? Yeah. Like there's so many people being like, oh, you're teaching your dog tricks like they're in a circus or something. It's like, no, like this is actually fun for her. Like she loves to work.
Well, that's exactly it. It's the same thing. It's brain games, and they're fun. They're cute. It's like, oh, you got people over. Let me show you what my dog can do. Yeah. And they're super fun. And then that's another fun thing too, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to train sit again and again. Let me train my dog something fun that's fun for me too. If we're doing something like we're going to high five, that's fun. Yeah. So that's another really good way to make training fun. For them. So
I'm trying to get Maple now to find my keys, because I always lose my keys. So I'm like, you know what? You could be useful. Yep. You could use your nose and find my keys for me.
I know. Or like the dogs that like open like doors and stuff too. Yeah. Those are so fun. I'm sure they backfire sometimes because I don't know if your dog does this, but once my dog gets a treat for a trick, they'll just start doing it randomly around the house just to do it because they know.
Just because, I know I'll get a treat for it.
Yeah.
It's like, but I didn't ask you to.
Yeah, I know. And that's another huge thing too, is it's like, I appreciate that. You're doing so good. But right now is not the time.
Yeah.
And they just start spinning and whatever. So funny.
I love the fact that, so I taught Maple how to tidy up, the toys.
That's so cute.
So now she walks around the house and tidies up the toys, and I love it.
That's so
But that
cute.
just means I have to be vigilant and actually reward it, because
100%.
otherwise she'll stop doing it.
Yep, totally. I get that. That's so fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Cute.
Okay, well, let's move on to our third don't.
Don't get frustrated. Don't get stressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enriching for them, and your dog understands your emotions. And if you're not having a good time, that's not positive, like, training, right?
Yeah.
And so
what advice would you give to someone that's going maybe through puppy blues, and they're like so fed up with their puppy?
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And like, you tell them, don't be frustrated. But like, what kind of advice would you give them, really, other than drinking?
I think the biggest thing, I would say, probably just tire your puppy out. I know that it's hard, but you're probably frustrated with your puppy because maybe they're not getting the right mental enrichment and stuff. And again, that goes back to, that doesn't mean you need to take your dog on a walk 3 times a day. That's great. But maybe doing brain games with them. I would say, if they're getting stressed or frustrated, maybe they're just not doing the training that's right for them. Like, maybe they're only doing the obedience part of it, and maybe they're not making it fun.
Yeah.
I would say usually when things are fun and entertaining, that's usually when it is fun. Obviously there's a reason I went into this, but the like rush of like happiness I get when a dog does the command for the first time, right? It's better than drinking. So so I think that there's a good emotion that they get from that. And I know that it's hard if your dog is not listening, especially the teenager phase. That is just a phase. But I think just make it fun. And maybe you're going to just teach them something different, or try a different way, and maybe set your expectations. Exactly. I was going to say that sounds a little bit bad, but maybe just be like, okay, we're going to train today, and we're literally just going to get you to take the treat and like back up. Cause like sitting, most dogs, like, it's really natural for them to just auto sit. But if you're really struggling with that, okay, I'm just going to treat when they're like, kind of like their bum is like halfway down. Just take any win that you can, because then you leave that training session, okay, yeah, they didn't sit, but they did this.
Yeah.
It's almost having a more positive outlook. It's like, don't expect to immediately have your dog shaking your paw when you're just teaching them. And that's the hardest thing. I wish I could get results instantly. That's the hard thing about everything, because there is some work involved, but it does take time, and it's just taking every little win that you can, I think, will definitely help you from being frustrated, and just tucker your dog out. Brain games, enrichment, anything, socialization, literally just putting on whatever, like any sort of stimulation will tucker them out, right? So if you're going to like pet your dog with the leaves, I keep bringing that up, but that was a really good example. You're going to tire your dog out because that's a new sensation for them. I think that
I was actually raking the grass in the backyard, because there's so much poo. Like, you don't realize how much poo you're gonna have after introducing the second dog. It's like crazy. So I was raking the grass, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna get Aspen to like come with me. Oh my gosh, she was so tired because she was like chasing this rake around. Oh yeah. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna let her. Like, I don't want her to continue to do that going forward, but I just want to tire her out. So
let her be a dog too. And it's, I mean, it's pretty harmless overall, right? And that's gonna, if this is a fun thing for them.
And she was like jumping through the leaves because it was fun when the rake was like going up.
Well, exactly, right?
Like, having the best time.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And it's harmless, and if that's fun for them, amazing, right?
But I love that you mentioned expectations. I think that's such a big thing, especially for like new puppy parents that are just getting into puppy training. You really have to lower them.
Yeah, it's so hard.
And just don't take it so personally if something doesn't work out, right?
That's exactly it.
But also like having an older dog that you've already done things with, like comparing the two, this is when the frustration builds up, because 100%. You're like, okay, I've done this before. My dog can do this. And now you're starting to compare.
Yep.
Right. And you're like, oh my God, why you don't get it?
Yeah. Well, and that's just it too, right?
It's like, okay, but like I have to look at myself and I have to be like, okay, you're just being dumb.
Well, and then everyone is like, oh my gosh, my first dog was an angel. I'm going to get another one because my first one, that's a classic. Yeah. That's always how it goes. Yeah. And then that dog is the complete opposite. And you're like, oh my goodness, like what did I get myself into? Yeah. And it's okay. It's totally fine. Yeah. You just have to learn with them. Yeah. So expectations for sure. I think people think training is this big daunting thing. And that's kind of why I'm here. And that's why it's becoming so popular now, because it doesn't need to be rigorous and intense and stressful, and it is hard, but it's also so rewarding, right? It's so fun. It's so fun when your dog learns something new, and it's like having a kid. It's when you get to show them parts of the world and they get to experience it and have a good time with it. That's like the best feeling in the entire world. So.
But I also think part of the frustration for a lot of people is the fact that they don't actually know or understand how to show their puppy what to do. So maybe to get rid of your frustration would be to actually call a dog trainer.
Oh, 100%. Because then you get
like maybe you just need help.
Yep. 100%. Right? And it's okay. And that's a huge part too, is a lot of people are like, well, I can do it myself. It's hard to ask for help. Yeah. I get that. But we're in this industry learning the skills and stuff so that we can help you. We're here. We're like, there's no judgment. I'll meet clients and stuff and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My dog's a jerk or whatever. And I'm like, that is okay. I'm here because I'm here to help you. I'm not here to judge your dog. There's no judgment. Like that is the number one thing that I want everyone to know. There is no judgment. The fact that you reached out is because you want help, and that's great. I'm so happy. Like I'm grateful that you want that, because that means that this is going to improve your life. It's going to improve your dog's life overall. Like it's a win-win, and there's no judgment when all you want is for you to be happy and your dog to be happy.
Well, that's the thing. You're like bridging the gap basically between the dog and the owner. And it's just so nice to have that service, to have so many dog trainers, especially here in Calgary, that can help you, and you can find that person that you click with and that understands you, understands your dog, understands your goals, and they, you can just bridge that gap and you can have a great relationship.
Exactly. I know. And that's it. And it's the same thing. It's like with doctors, with any sort of people that you're reaching out, you're going to click with some people and you're not. So just find what works best for you. That's why there's so many trainers, and a lot of them grateful. They all do the same, like reward-based positive training, but they all have different personalities, and they're all here for different, like they all have different goals and stuff in mind. So you can kind of pick what sticks for you. And lots of people are very specific. Sometimes they only are teaching tricks, or they're only teaching reactive dogs. Super cool.
They have like their own niche, right? But like I love younger people like getting into this industry, because I feel like this is like completely going off topic right now, but I think the dog industry is so old and so like outdated and traditional. Like we need younger blood and younger people to like get into this and really show the way forward, because you guys are the future.
Totally.
So.
Like the foundation's been built, and I'm so grateful for those people, but we're learning so much stuff, and I'm so grateful. I really didn't realize I came in at such a good time, and I'm so excited, because I'm like, this industry can grow, and I'm really super excited to be a part of it, because we're slowly transitioning to more positive based training, because again, you said it was really traditional, and it was very, I'm the boss of this dog. I'm the leader of the pack or whatever. And some people still do that, and that's totally fine if that works for you. But I'm really grateful that more stuff is coming out, and people are like everywhere I look, and it could just be, social media is kind of an algorithm, so it's kind of what I surround myself with, but there are so many people that really care for dogs, and they just want the best for them, but they're also understanding the dogs too. Cause that's the biggest thing, right? Is you have to understand.
I also feel like that, younger trainers have a bit of an open mind, right? Like they don't look at things from, oh, this is what has worked for me for 30 years. This is how I'm going to continue to train this dog. No, it's more like, let's see your dog as an individual being and see what works for them, see what works for you, and then we can have an open mind of how we're gonna reach the goals that you need to reach, right? And so I love that about you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, of course. I think it's super awesome. And obviously every single dog that I've worked with is different. So I can't expect one thing to work for one dog to work for another. Again, I say it, dogs' or personalities are different. Every single one, like your two dogs, your puppies are polar opposites. So how am I supposed to expect that the same thing's going to work? Yeah. I have all the skills and techniques. It's just kind of what ways is going to, like, what's going to work for me and what's not. I just got to like trial and error. So I know all this stuff. I just need to figure out what applies best. So it's super fun, keeps it interesting, because then I'm not going and teaching every single dog how to sit the same way.
There's no fun. Like framework for things, right?
Yeah. And then I've got all the skills.
This is what people pay you for.
Yeah, exactly. And so we can be specific and we can be authentic and, I guess, I don't know what the word is.
Tailored?
Yeah,
Tailored.
That's really good. Exactly. It's like we can tailor exactly to what you want.
Yeah.
And I love that. So everything is different, and then it can be really personal.
Yeah.
Because it is not only a relationship with this trainer and the dog, but the trainer and the person your dog is your baby, and I want to make sure that you know that I care about your dog as much, and I care about you too, because your mental health with the dog, again, it's like having a kid. How many times you wake up at night when you're potty training? Yeah,
a few.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard. And so
I'm not going to admit how many times. But a few.
But the sympathy, there's a sympathy aspect to it as well, and I think that younger trainers also, there's a lot of sympathy going around, and not saying older ones don't and stuff too, but again, they've been doing this for a long time. I think that the industry's changing to a really good way, and
I love it.
Yeah, I really do like it too. So I can't complain.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to our second to last.
I think so. Yeah. I know. I'm like losing track. I'm like, oh my gosh. I hope I don't repeat anything.
Yeah. I'm like, talk too much.
No, and that's okay. That's great. We've got lots to say. I would say body language. Again, we talked about the calming signals and stuff too, but especially when you're going to socialize your dog and do handling, make sure you're watching and making sure your dog's okay with it, because the more you listen to the dog, the more they're going to trust you. Even if it's not behavior that you want, like let's say, okay, I want to pet my dog, but my dog doesn't want me to pet them right now. Okay, it sucks, but I need to respect that, because the dog's going to be like, oh my gosh, they listened. I love that. So I'm going to trust them more. And you're going to build a foundation that's so good and built on love and trust and respect. That's so much stronger than any fear-based stuff. If they're stressed and stuff, it's not going to be as successful, and it's not going to be as beneficial for their well-being. Yeah. So just listening to their body language. And again, that doesn't mean that you need to know all the stuff that I know and all the specific, like 20 different body language signals. Like that's a lot to memorize. It's genuinely, dogs are pretty easy to read if you take the time to step back and just see, okay, they're like leaning away. I see some like side eye. I see some the hair's going up and all this stuff. If you can kind of tell when your dog's uncomfortable, they'll 90% of the time leave the situation if they can. Yeah. And if not, they'll lean away from the situation is what I like to say. Dogs, whenever they're stressed out, they lean forward. Sorry, not forward, backwards. I say forward and then I lean backwards. They lean backwards. Everything, their whole body goes backwards. Yeah. So especially like a really good example, you're going to hug a dog and they're like, I don't know how I feel about that. That's a really good one. They're not super comfortable with that. All those things, you have to teach them. Their body language, dogs don't hug other dogs and stuff like that. It's not a thing. You have to teach them to like that and appreciate that. So I
tolerate it more.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. That's the big thing too. Like I said, I just want to squish all the dogs, but I know that's not respectful for them. So body language is huge. I think just listen to your dog. Body language / listen to your dog. Yeah. They're telling you a lot if you step back and listen.
Just look, right? Like, me and Brian were actually discussing this morning, just having breakfast, just starting a conversation that we have. How it's quite strange how some people don't recognize their dog's body language like at all. They're just so oblivious
Yep. I know.
to everything. And it's like, you know, maybe they just need that dog trainer, or maybe they need that YouTube video or that TikTok or whatever it is to tell them, hey, like your dog doesn't like that. Like this is the signs to look out for. It doesn't mean your dog specifically will display those signals, but one of them could be it.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like you just need to be in tune. And I think building a bond with your dog is actually such a big part of it.
Yeah.
Of like reading the body language.
And that's what makes it fun and everything too.
Yeah.
I think we get in our heads a lot and we live our lives.
And we're trying to be like very like analytical and like specific, like, okay, like this is what happened. Like
100%.
And it's like, no, like you just have to feel them out.
We
want
to figure it out ourselves for sure. But sometimes it's about taking, like, put yourself in your dog's shoes and just like, observe them and stuff. Even just, okay, you're sitting on the couch, just watch them, just see how they live their life and you can learn a lot. It's interesting. You don't think that there's much that they can tell you just by walking around the kitchen, but like their ears will perk. They're like, they'll lick their lips, whatever. There's so many teeny signs.
Expressions, right?
I know. It's super cool.
Yeah. People don't see it. I'm like, your dog's face is moving.
There's so much they have to tell you, and there's so much we have to learn.
Yeah, without words.
So cool.
It's crazy.
Yep. I love it.
Right. So let's do the last one, the last don't. What should we not do?
I obviously advocate for fear-free, reward-based, positive training. My biggest thing is, don't use fear as a training tool. I know that lots of trainers and stuff advocate for that and everything, but you wouldn't do it to your kid. You wouldn't do it to your friend. You wouldn't do it to your partner. So why is it okay to do it to a dog? Right. So I know it's a little bit more serious. Obviously puppies, it's fun and it's an exciting time, but just the relationship needs to be built out of love, and your dog won't like, fear is not love. And so when you're training your dog and you're stressing them out and everything, they're going to listen for sure, but they're not going to listen because they trust you. They're going to listen because they're afraid. And that's so unfortunate, because you want your dog to be able to relax and enjoy their life. It definitely brings down the quality of life that your dog could have and your puppy could have. And especially in a period of their life where it's so crucial to build the foundations, like the puppy brain. And as they're growing up, it's really important that this is fun and it's exciting. And we're working, but we're having a blast doing it. And then it makes it more fun for you too. Like, again, I don't understand how people can train dogs negatively and stuff. I get it. We get frustrated. I do understand that our emotions get in the way, and sometimes we get stressed, we get frustrated, we get angry. That is so human. But you have to make sure that like you don't project that. If you're stressed out, make the session short. Okay. We had so much fun, puppy. Amazing. Let's go do something else. Don't let your dog live their life in fear.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I totally agree with you. Like totally up for positive reinforcement, fear-free and all that. However, I also see the other side. Yeah. For instance, a lot of balance trainers will say that fear is actually such a healthy emotion, and it's important for our dogs to know how to handle it.
That is true. Yeah.
So like, what would your response to that be?
I think fear is normal. I think the issue is less like if your dog is confident, they can handle fear better. Yeah. And I think the best way to, cause like, I don't want to humanize dogs too, but like we experience fear too. But I think when we have the tools to deal with our emotions, we'll be able to handle it better. So I think when you give the dog the right tools in a more like rewarding way, I guess, they'll be able to like Halloween like socialization, the Halloween decorations and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's super spooky. It's more about, okay, my dog is, I guess, I just don't see like a situation. Maybe the way that you're explaining the fear is a little bit different. Like okay, my dog sees the Halloween decoration and they're scared. I'm not going to make them work through that fear. Like I'm gonna make them work through the fear on their own pace. Yeah. Okay. So that's probably what I mean more. So fear is totally normal. But I think it's about making sure that it doesn't turn into stress and doesn't disrupt anything positive that we want.
I think that the way they explain it is to do with more safety. So for instance, if there's a car or an animal in a background somewhere, and you want your dog not to chase that animal, not to chase that car, what they're saying is that fear in that scenario is okay, because it means that your dog will stay away from these things.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it fear or is it confidence, right? It's like,
I see what you mean.
There's that really fine line between the two.
Yep.
So I think that that's what they mean. It's like, everyone experiences fear. Like, you can be scared of mice or spiders or whatever. But yeah, I also don't know why inducing that fear on purpose to a dog whilst trying to teach them something is particularly beneficial. Yeah.
I think that's, I totally get it. I keep an open mind. I'm still learning, right? So, and I always want to know all the sides, right? So then I can have all the right information. I think it's more about, in those situations of fear, it's more like you want your dog to listen to you in those situations. Okay. So I go on a hike, I see a bear. Oh my gosh. Like, you can't, your dog, if you're going to react in that situation and just let your dog react on fear, I guess they're going to run towards you. Maybe they'll run away though. Yeah. Maybe they might not even run towards you. So what you want is for them to trust you and listen. And so then they're going to come at your recall or whatever. So I think I totally get that. I see, and that's super valid. I totally see the point of that, like, especially with kids too. It's like, okay, make sure you look both ways before crossing the road. But it's like, we teach them that rather than, okay, let's stand in the front of the road and here this car's coming at you. What are you going to do?
Run towards the car.
Exactly, right?
Be positive.
You got to give them the right tools. Yeah. So I think I totally, I totally get that. I think it's just more about train your dog in a way that they understand. It's almost like a check-in. It's like, okay, I feel these emotions. Anything new, the first thing they're going to do is look at you, and then you tell them what to do. Because if you're the one teaching them how to live their life, and if you teach them in a positive way, they're going to want to listen to you more. So in scary situations, the first thing they're going to be like, this is new. You know who I'm going to look at? My owner, because they have taught me and I trust them. And I love them. And I know that if I listen to them, they're going to show me the right way. Yeah. So,
and I don't think you can build that necessarily if you don't have the bond that's built on the trust rather than fear, right?
Exactly. And it comes from rewarding. So
yeah, I know, like, my mind just bounces around because it's like hard. I love to explore both sides. Totally. Like, I totally see like this side and I see that side, and I'm like trying to, like, this is why we created this podcast, is to kind of bridge those gaps and kind of have these like mentally inducing conversations. And I
love that. I could talk about it for like, we'll be here. Let's just talk for like 5 hours. No one wants to listen to that, but I love that. I think that that's huge. And, I think that it's so important to see all the sides too, and make sure you have all the information. And then from there,
because that's how you grow, right? That's how you can actually educate yourself.
In any situation, you got to have all the sides, and then you kind of see what you align with. And it's based on your values. Like, I value positivity. I value love and stuff like that. So obviously I'm going to go with that. Some people don't. Some people have more values of being in power and stuff like that. And that's usually where it comes from. And that's okay. That's their values. But I don't align with that. So that this is where my like philosophy comes from, and why I do what I do because of this. And so it is interesting to be like, why do you think that? Like, I love having those conversations. Yeah, exactly. Not even with dogs, just with anything.
Like, we don't need to have judgment here. Like, let's just talk about it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Just because you believe in something doesn't mean I have to. Yeah. And then we can have, just
a chat. Yeah, 100%. And I think there's not a lot of that recently. Like we're getting way out of like dogs, but even in the dog industry, it's like any situation, people want to pick sides. And I think there's always something that will connect you no matter what. Like, okay, these trainers are doing different methods of training, but they're doing this because they love dogs.
Yeah.
So
it all comes down to the love for dogs. Yep. Like, that's the core at all of it, which is I think why people get so passionate about it, because they just love dogs so much, and everyone has their own philosophies and methods of training, and this is why the emotions just get out of control.
Totally.
And it's like, does it really have to be this way? Like, why can't we just like sit like we do right now and look at both sides and be like, hey, like I see how you think and I see how I think, and I still stand by my values.
But I learned something.
But I've learned something, right? Like I had the glimpse of the other side, and I understand it.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I get it.
100%. And that's okay. And that's just being able to leave that conversation and just be like, cool. I learned something. Thank you for talking. And I don't know. It's so interesting. And I just want to learn as much as I can. And I get that sometimes emotions can come up, and it's like, I don't want to hear that because that's not what I believe in. Yeah. It's a bit of pride too. And we all have that. And you sometimes have to put it aside and be like, but why do you do this? And then you're going to learn so much more, and you're going to be more well-rounded as a person if you take that time to be like, okay, I'm going to put this aside and just listen and I'm curious. Just have curiosity. Don't be prideful.
Yeah. That's why I love young trainers, because they're just curious.
Well, I have so much to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm so excited.
Yeah. So I think we're done with our topic for today. So thank you so much for coming over and talking to us. Like, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I had so much fun.
Yeah. If you have any kind of last thoughts or things that you want to mention before we wrap it all up?
I don't think so. I just love your dog and have fun. Have fun with it. You can make it a good, positive time.
Yeah.
And also do your research. Make sure you know what you're getting into when you're getting a puppy. And just, be positive. Be more positive, even outside of the dog, just in general. Like, we need more positivity and lightness in the world. So
in these dog times, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that all around, just live more optimistically. Any little win, take it. In dog training, outside of dog training, any little thing, it will change how you see everything, which is
all about perception.
Exactly. Yep.
I totally agree.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but it's like life-changing for real. So, and then your puppy, even if it's biting you and stuff, you'll still be like, okay, I love you because you're so cute. So
you're so freaking cute, even though your fangs are literally puncturing me.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, okay, silver lining. There's always a silver lining for anything. So 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that's it for today, you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment and all of that stuff. And obviously look out for Avery in the future. She's going to be the new upcoming trainer. I'm sure she's going to do great. And see you next time. Bye for now.